All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Average to Alpha podcast. We have an awesome guest here today, Zach even-esh. Zach, welcome on, man.
Cool. I'm excited.
Maybe tell the guys a bit about yourself.
Sure. I am out here in New Jersey and grew up in New Jersey since I was a young kid. I mean, in my early years, probably moved to New Jersey around age 4.
Yeah.
And any minute now, I'll be age 40.
That's a big one. I just turned 30. 30 is a shock.
Time is going fast. So I'm a father of 2. And I run 2 gyms called the Underground Strength Gym, and basically take that training information and that training style, and I share it with people online.
Yeah.
And really, the evolution of what I did and what started was kind of this part-time thing of just trying to train a couple of athletes on the side while I was a full-time teacher. And I wanted to just train athletes to be tough, to be strong, to be just go-getters and hard chargers. And it kept growing organically without me really trying to push it on the side. And I began sharing everything online, just sharing it online, and just people demanded that they got more from it. So as much as I try to live a simple lifestyle, it's like I do these things where whatever's going on in the gym, I'm posting it online, and it's evolved from what started as underground strength and underground strength coach to what I call living the strong life, because I'm most interested in how to apply the lessons of hard training, hard living to achieving more success in all areas of life. And I'm connected to that strong life because I know what it's like to not achieve success when your mind is not in the right place. And I'm also emailed and reached out to so many times every day, year after year, by men of all ages, young men in their late teens, early 20s, to men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, really just struggling to feel successful. They're not doing what they want to do. They're not achieving what they want to achieve. I mean, it's amazing how they're even like, I work with teenage athletes and college athletes at my gym, and those like newer kids that don't have the confidence and don't have that bravado. It's amazing that if that's not something that they fix or learn how to fix, you're going to be that same person at age 55 that you were at age 15. I'm meeting all these guys that lack confidence, lack strength, lack the willpower to get off a couch and just fucking be strong. So I'm really inspired to get this message out to men.
Yeah, no, I love it. I went on your site last night and started reading the articles. I read your story.
Yeah.
And man, it's just like fired me up. I started writing like 6 articles. I got like a paragraph done of each. But yeah, you're big on the toughness stuff, man. Like you really use the gym as a vehicle to help guys become tougher and more self-reliant and stronger guys. So like what's the process that you think guys should follow? Because I've got a lot of guys who are I get emails from guys in their 40s and 50s who you just talked about. They've spent their whole lives kind of running from conflict, running from challenges, and they fit into this mold of the 9-to-5 that they hate.
Right.
And I don't know. Martin Luther King has a great quote: "If you sweep streets like you're Da Vinci or whatever."
Yes.
So how do guys get that on that kind of path? Like, what's the first few things that they can do?
I think it's all. I did a video on this yesterday. That it's like you do little things that it's like small victories, and they add up and build momentum. So overall, it's going to be the lifestyle. It's the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the people you hang out with. It's your environment. But a lot of times, men don't really have the control over their environment. I understand that you need a job, and having a 9-to-5, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No, not
but people have gotten away from excellence, and they have gotten into comfort. So going on what I said about these small victories yesterday, I was exhausted. And I was like, I just got to get some fresh air and get some food in my body. So I went to the neighboring town. I went to the general store. I got an omelet, some bacon. My stomach was full. And I was like, I'm just going to go back and do some work. But in the back of my mind, I was like, man, you got to get this workout in, because as this day keeps creeping on, as each hour passes, you will be less likely to get that workout in. And you don't want to work out when you have a full stomach. You feel sluggish. It slows you down. You're going to get nauseous. And I said, this is exactly why I'm going to go to the gym right now. So as I was driving home, I just hit a different turn and went straight to my gym. And I just did a body weight workout. And it was like the first few minutes, it sucked. My stomach was full. I didn't feel energetic. I was like, maybe you should just take today off. And I just took it one step at a time, small victories. It's like when you're outside running, you don't want to look and say, man, I got to get all the way down there. I'm just going to run to the next telephone pole. Then I'm going to get to the next telephone pole. So I do these little mind games to achieve mini victories, small victories, and then I go to the next one. And that allows you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Instead of running away from it, you start seeking it out. You start finding, the thrill and the power behind challenging yourself. So for the men out there, like what you're saying, if you're going to sweep streets, then do it like Da Vinci. I do these, I rant a lot, and I hate to rant because I sound like I'm a preacher or a complainer, and I hate that stuff. But, it's easy for men nowadays to really just get away with being average because there's no punishment for it. So I always give the example of this small town that I live in. The wrestling team is like every year loses more and more. They have like a 90-something% losing record. 90-something% losing record. Now, if you or I provided workouts, information, or anything online that was like 90% bullshit, you and I would be living on the streets. We would have no money. We wouldn't be changing lives. We wouldn't be inspiring people. But as a coach, they keep their jobs. Nobody's saying, hey, man, there's something wrong with this. And it's just amazing that society allows they turn a blind eye to that stuff. So there's kind of no punishment behind it in many of these places. All these little things to me add up. When I ordered food for my kids the other day, I ordered spaghetti and meatballs, and then I said chicken cutlet sub with roasted red peppers, and they gave me grilled chicken instead of chicken cutlet. Like those little things, like who's paying attention to the details? So I'm a big believer and a big advocate of the little things. The little details are what those are what create big successes. And that's what men need to do. Do little things. Don't wake up an hour early. Wake up 5 minutes early. If you can't join the gym, then I want you to do 5 burpees in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, 5 in the evening. That's 15 more every day, which is, if you're doing 0, 15 is like 150% more than 0. Then 15 times 5, Monday through Friday, is 75 reps. Now we're at 300 reps a month. We're 300, you know what I'm saying? Like I look at all the little things and I see it everywhere, meaning whether it's men or athletes, the athlete who shows up early versus the athlete who always shows up on time, the athlete whose shoelaces are never tied versus the athlete who's always dressed, prepared, ready to go. I've seen what happens to those that don't, do the little things. And that's what success is. It's a bunch of little things that add up. It's like Steven Pressfield talking about turning pro. It's the difference between pro and average.
Yeah. So then what I got from that as well is get used to doing the things that you don't want to do. So that could be the push-ups, burpees in the morning. It's the pain. It's bringing different kinds of pain into your life, and then after a while, you're going to seek out the tougher route.
Right. You begin to wear it like a badge of honor. You begin to thrive on it. You begin to take pride. So maybe you have a regular 9-to-5 job, and then you start doing a little bit extra. You work a little harder, get a little more done. You help somebody in another department. You do something that's not in your job description. You You send out a motivational email to the friends that you know once a week. You do these little things that just you start to thrive. And that's my, I fear that falling into the normal realm, becoming like everybody else. Some men, they can't wait to get away from the challenge times. And it's amazing. Like people, like myself, I'm viewed as like a rogue going against norms. So it scares people. It makes people feel uncomfortable. But that's the thing is like you won't make many friends and be the most popular when you're pushing people, past their comfort zones. And I guess, it's like the animal food chain. There's the human food chain. You got to decide where you want to be on the food chain. And I use a lot of things to motivate me to climb up that food chain. I think about my kids, my family. I think about representing the people that follow the website. All these little things, I look at it. Men can simply look at the Al inches speech, right? Inches.
Yeah.
That to me, like he's like the inches are all around us. That's what men start looking for. Inches, not everything.
Yeah. Fuck, sorry about my dog, man. This guy.
Yeah, I don't even look, dude. Talking about like the dog. When I first got my dog, I have kids, and I hadn't had a puppy for a long friggin' time. And I was like, holy shit, this is like having another baby.
Yeah.
Waking up in the middle of the night, all the training. And at first it was stressing me out. And then I changed my attitude about it. And I started viewing everything as like a challenge. I started viewing it as like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. and that's going to make me tougher. I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. every day to let her out, and that's going to make me tougher. And I just started using all those things to my advantage rather than allowing them to, just looking at it as a negative.
Yeah.
And that's life. And that's what men need to start doing. Because if you don't do it that way, then you start using everything as an excuse, and there's no power behind that shit. There's no power.
Let's talk routine then, because obviously routine's a big part of your life, and everyone I read about or follow online, routine's huge. So what's your routine then?
Yep. So for most of the time, I'm up at either 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been just waking up at like 6:15, trying to get a little bit more sleep, trying to see how that feels on my body. Yeah. But most of the time, I'm up very early before my wife and kids are up, before my dog even wants to wake up now. You got a 9-month-old dog, but my dog now, like, she'll like stay on the couch. I like to get shit going. It gives me this like mental edge when I know that like I got my morning email out. I organized and did specific things for my gym, for my online business. So I like to wake up early and get work done. And I also like, little things I take pride in is making breakfast for my kids in the morning, having the coffee ready for my wife. Like I take pride in that. And that inspires me. Once I get my kids to school, then I aggressively do work. I either hit the gym first and blend some work in with that, getting some videos. I take my dog out in the morning, then I might take a little bit of a break, go out, go grab a cup of coffee, come back, do a little more work. For me, that morning time is my most productive. And then because of where I live, I'm on the East Coast. When it's warmer, spring and summer, I will get that work done early, especially when my kids aren't in school, so that I'm free to be with my kids from basically like 12 noon on. So I try to finish work at 12 p.m.
That's awesome.
Noon. Whereas most people, they're just like, oh, I can't wait for lunch. I try to really organize not just each day, but my days are scheduled. So Sunday night, Monday through Wednesday is scheduled. And then Wednesday night, whatever I need to make happen is scheduled for Thursday, Friday. So very scheduled, very regimented. And I utilize the training of my past as a wrestler to understand that things have to get done. You're not always going to like it, and certain things just have to be done. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, speaking of that, I saw on your site the non-negotiables. Like you've got certain non-negotiables, and then I know you've read Mark Devine. Do you know him?
Yes, I know Mark. A couple of years ago, I actually the first time I met with Mark was up in Pittsfield,
Okay.
where Joe DeSena lives, who's the founder of Spartan Race. And Mark was up there helping Joe with the beginning of the Spartan strength coaches, the SGX. And me and Mark were talking about how to take SEAL Fit and implement it into the teenage population.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I met Joe, and Mark was doing the Kokoro camps. And me and a friend of mine, we told Mark, hey, listen, not everybody wants to do a 50-hour Kokoro challenge. Not everybody can. People with families, this and that. Like, it's very hard to just go and get up and be gone for a week. So I said, why don't you do something that's like half a day? And we helped him create that, and they tested it on us. And two of my real close friends are SEAL Fit coaches. So during that whole event, we're saying go 20x, and that became the 20x challenge. So Mark is a big influence. His books aren't not. I think his books are on my bedside. They're probably sitting up here, like 8 Weeks to SEAL Fit. I love The Way of the SEAL. I'm constantly rereading it. This is one that I'm reading right now. Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I love reading.
How is? Do you know him as well, or is it just follow his stuff?
I just connect with him through Twitter, and nice. I love reading. I love reading about all like SEALs and special ops soldiers and just military stuff in general. It's so inspiring because they're always overcoming obstacles.
On the discipline and.
Yeah, I love that shit, and that inspires me. I find instead of allowing things, if men would stop allowing everything to negatively impact them and you just turn it and say, I'm going to let it inspire me, you become a changed man that way.
Yeah, I agree. So, and then, speaking of Mark Devine and some of the guys you have around you, you were talking to Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, that was a real, man, that was so interesting. And him and I connected through Twitter, then through email. And we just hopped on the phone one day, and it was like talking with an old friend. We were on the phone. I remember I had to finally get off the phone to go and drive up north to open my gym. We used to speak on the phone on an almost daily basis.
Yeah.
There was like a little bit of like there was like an old friend relationship and a little bit of like a mentor to a younger guy thing. And we really connected with training, not just for, the big bench press, the big deadlift, the big biceps, but the training for life. And he was, a big advocate of waking up early and doing a lot of intense training to train your mind. He would do a lot of meditation where he would basically just like walk. He lived in New Mexico, and when he was in the early days of WWF, now WWE, he lived in Arizona. But he would tell me, he's like, I had $1 million home, but I didn't sleep in it that often. I'd go out into the desert and hike through the night and sleep on the desert floor and on the ground and all those things. Like, so I've been kind of educated and inspired by some very unique men. Yeah, and I guess because there's not a lot of guys like you and I out there, it's so when somebody older than us finds somebody, they feel like they've connected to a kindred spirit, kindred old friend. So it was a interesting relationship I had with the Ultimate Warrior, and we did he was approached by TV producers, and they were gonna film Warrior University, and he brought me on as the strength coach for that. And they filmed the first one, and it didn't go too hot. And after that, he got with the WWE, and I think a lot of changes happened, and a lot of stuff went unsaid. And I'll that's the tough thing about that is I'll never know what the whole thing was. And I spoke with his wife real brief after his passing through text, but I just try to, leave it as it is. there's a lot of, on the surface, there's so many things that I see, and then you meet somebody or you get inside of another business, or somebody, and it's amazing how things on the surface seem one way.
Yeah, and then
Really not that way. And I always try to explain that to men that follow me, coaches that follow me. I say, guys, here's the thing about life. Here's the thing about businesses. You might see my photos or videos on Instagram and you see a crowded gym. Well, look, sometimes I got to fight to, build that gym. It's not always crowded, right? And I try to really give the realness to people that sometimes I don't want to work out. Like yesterday, I did not want to work out.
yeah.
But I found a way to just fucking do it. And the same thing with like running a business. People, there's people out there teaching people how to run businesses, but they're not running a business themselves. They may have done it years ago, but running a business today is way different than it was a month ago, 3 months ago. So I'm really trying to keep my boots on the ground and stay connected. And I guess a lot of men follow my stuff because they see, here's a guy running 2 gyms, running an online business. He's got a family. And I do a lot of stuff every weekend. I lock down with my wife and kids. Sundays, my son and I go mountain biking. It's amazing. He's 7 years old, and it's like a bro hangout.
How old is he?
He's 7. He just turned 7 the end of June, so he's like 7.5. It's amazing. There's no other 7-year-old out there. Here and there, I'll see like a young teenager out in the trails. He's out there riding. We go surfing in the summertime, fishing. Mondays, I don't open up my gym. My coaches run it, so I go with him to wrestling practice, baseball, or just he comes with me to the gym a lot. So doing stuff with my family is the most important thing to me that that's my why, and that's what drives me, and that's where men can really take themselves to a new height, a new level. What is your why? Like, why are you trying to be strong? You've got to have these deep-rooted, heartfelt, foundational things that drive you. It must go beyond ripped abs, big pecs, beautiful body, because that is just the surface. That's just a small layer of your why. Your why must be very deep-rooted, because when the shit hits the fan, if you don't have a big enough why, you will always quit. You will always, break under the pressure.
Yeah,
and pressure will come.
Yeah, and your philosophy and mine is the same. The gym is a vehicle to get tougher. It's not. I don't understand. Like I boxed when I was growing up, and then and I played basketball and other sports, and my training then was at in great level. I worked my ass off, and then I tried for probably 2 years to get into the gym and get ripped and like get abs and all that stuff. And that did not last. I just could not train with that as the focus. So I think at some level, when guys start to grow up a bit, maybe they've got to see the gym as like an agoge or like a training facility, not just for your body, but for your mind, your spirit, this toughening of the character and your will and all that kind of thing. I don't think you can go in there and just, I'm going to add an inch to my bicep.
Yeah, I think you're going to eventually
burn out.
Yeah, you'll hit a wall and you'll lose the motivation. You'll lose the deep-rooted why. And I share that lesson with my athletes. I go, okay, you're in high school now, and if you decide that when you're in college you're not going to compete in football, wrestling, baseball, sprinting, whatever sport, then you guys must always train to be a bad son of a bitch. I go, you're always trained to be tough. You're always training for that next challenge. So my fear is to just be normal. So I do little things. Like I remember in June, my wife and I went for a run on the beach. And in early June, the water is not warm yet. It doesn't really warm up till it's like late June, mid-July. And I remember we finished this run and there's nobody in the water. There's people all on the sand. And I just like walked right into the water. And this lady stops and says to my wife, I can't believe he just walked straight into that water and didn't like dip his toe in and feel it out. And I was so hot and exhausted from the run, but I also knew that, okay, that run just exhausted me. Now let me just do one more extra to make myself uncomfortable. And I just went into that water and I just went right under the water and I just hung out there. And that was that last little bit I wanted to do to get myself where I'm at. And this is a big, why don't people push themselves? We're always trying to figure it out. Joe DeSena is doing his Spartan Up podcast, and he's like, I don't get it. Why do we have so many people that quit or that just can't, do what needs to be done? He's like, that's why I'm doing Spartan Race, because I'm hoping that when they do these challenging races, that they could change their frame of reference in life, that they're not going to allow life. They're going to look and say, man, I just ran 6 miles, through fire, barbed wire, climbing ropes, through mud. And that pushed me and challenged me so hard. And now I'm not going to get stressed out over waking up early or staying after a little late, or my lunch break got cut to 30 minutes instead of an hour. But people cry over all that shit when really the answer to succeeding more is, work and train your mind and just fucking work hard.
Well, we talked about it when I was on your podcast. We talked about like kids not getting awards and stuff. There's a participation award for everyone, and it's almost like society in some way has taken the response. They've taken the blame if you're unsuccessful. If you lose, they've taken the blame. It's not your fault. You've got the odds stacked against you, this and that. And then if you do succeed, they've taken the credence for it. They say, oh, okay, this is societal structures that have made you a success. So it's like a new kind of communism, weird kind of thing. We talked about it when I was on yours, but I'm seeing it a lot.
Coaches even tell me, they're like, listen, athletics take a big backseat the past 10 years. Athletic directors are afraid of lawsuits and legal issues. And, you're going to say something to a kid. And that's why when my athletes are like, how come you're not coaching? I'm like, boys, people like me get fired.
Yeah, that's a great
system.
Point.
Yeah, you make everybody else around you uncomfortable. Now they have to do work. They have to work harder. They can't be a clock puncher. And I will never understand that. The thing I understand is whatever you do, you put your heart and soul, you drench yourself into it, you immerse yourself into it, you leave drenched in sweat. When I'm done coaching, my throat is hoarse. I'm tired because I didn't just sit against the wall and watch my athletes do shit. Like, I'm firing people up and getting them going. And I remember these things all the way to my teaching days. I remember when I taught at the middle school, the teachers called the department chair and was like, hey, Zach is teaching outside of the curriculum. Come and have a sit down with him. And I was like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit, because the kids need more than that. And I just see how schools are so scared of excellence. Like I
was going to say the same word.
Oh, they fucking want you to be a robot. And I hate that shit. And I stand against it. And I know it pisses people off. And you want to know what? Like I always say, stand for something or fall for anything. I'm not going to go to the grave. I'm not going to go to the grave okay with the fact that I allowed mediocrity. Like, if you're going to do something, you go out there to kick ass. You do not go average. And anybody who's in a position of authority or influence, I'm even tougher on them.
Yeah.
I tell coaches, I go, if you're not changing lives, if you're not finding ways to give these people, your athletes or whoever you're working with, the best of the best, then you're half-assing it. And I'm not cool with that at all.
Yeah, no, that's important. I can't believe, the way things are going, the way things, like no one feels responsible for anything in their life. There's someone to blame or there's something to fall back on. It's pretty sad. And
extreme ownership is it's all your fault. So when my athletes aren't succeeding, then I've got to find more ways to communicate with them, to communicate with their parents, to get them to follow through on the nutrition, the training. But of course, they've got to take ownership over it. Here's the information. It's up to you to eat the great food or the shitty food. It's up to you to show up and train here or make excuses and train at the high school and think that good enough is going to cut it. Good enough doesn't cut it. It just doesn't.
Sports is a great equalizer because you go out on the field or wrestling mat, boxing ring, whatever, and you haven't done your work, it's going to show.
Yes.
Today, like you get out in the workforce, you can hold on to a job without actually doing the work and this and
Yeah.
that. Like
Amazing. Think about it. I just, going back to the beginning, there's coaches out there who at the high school level, like, let's say they have one game or 20 games. Let's say they have a 10 or 20, let's say they have 20 games a year or 20 matches or competitive events. They're only winning one or two out of the 20. That's a 5%, that's a 90 to 95% failure rate. And nobody's like, hey, nobody's standing up to that. I hate that shit.
yeah.
And I think people are just straight up delusional. They're delusional as to what it takes, and they blame everything else around them. I had a coach tell me, he's like, oh man, it kills us. We don't have our own wrestling room. Really? I'll build fucking badass wrestlers if I got to train them out on the grass. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need a wrestling room. And I actually think that the less you have, it's a gift. There's a wrestling team they're in Ohio. It's like really close to the border of Pennsylvania, called Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And their weight room is like a little side room with like old hex dumbbells, mismatched weights. And those guys are out there kicking ass, and they're like one of the top 5 ranked teams, top 10 ranked teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they're utilizing, most other gyms and universities have beautiful weight rooms, like perfect, brand new, excellent equipment. These guys have what looks like, a 1985 high school weight room, and they're loving it. They're not like, oh, we don't have the perfect weights. They don't give a shit about perfect. They're using imperfection to their advantage. And that's when you will succeed, when you stop being a big baby over that, everything. And I think men just need to hear this straight. They need to hear it straight. A buddy of mine is a vice principal at a high school, and he had me all set to come in and speak to the health and phys ed department. And then it was canceled last minute. I go, dude, honestly, tell me. I go, did they cancel it last minute because I'm a business owner and I'm an entrepreneur versus, like somebody at like a regular place? He goes, yep. He goes, they were afraid that you were going to end up promoting your business, or I was going to end up promoting you. And I go, yeah, it's so expensive. It's free. They weren't even paying me to come there.
What the fuck?
I said, here's all we need to know. Was I going to help make those coaches and teachers better? Yes, period.
Yeah.
And they weren't paying for it. But even when it's free, see, it's not about the money out there. People always say, I don't have the money, I don't have this. It has nothing to do with that. If you want it, you're going to find a way. If you don't want it, you're going to find an excuse. And, it's really about just people got to harden up. They got to man up. And it's just do little things over and over again. Wake up 5 minutes early, do some squats and push-ups, or do 10 burpees, right? Do it again afterwards. Read a great book. Read 2 pages every day of like an awesome military book.
Yeah.
Little things, and you will start making changes, and that momentum will build.
So let's to give guys something actionable to do before we wrap up. I'm going to ask you what books you're reading, but then something actionable that they can do that'll make them tougher is seek out ways to get a little more uncomfortable. So what's 5 things that they can do every day right now? Have a checklist at the end of the day. I did this, I did this, I did this. That'll make them tougher. I think you said the first one's wake up earlier.
Yeah, just wake up, start out with 5 minutes earlier. Eventually that'll be 15 minutes or 30 minutes earlier, and do something that benefits you physically. So do some sort of physical exercise, even if it's like old school stuff, arm circles, toe touches, some simple Hindu squats, anything, really simple stuff. Get a dumbbell, do some light clean and presses, do squats, push-ups, like do something that empowers you. So wake up early, do something physical. So 2 things right there. Find something during the day that you're like been avoiding and do it. So that might be, I'll give you a crazy example. I
Okay.
used to not want to like set up the whole coffee machine. I used to do instant coffee. After I did the Seal Fit 20X challenge, I started like doing all these little things that I didn't like to do, and I started taking pride and thriving on them. Waking up early, making coffee for my wife, not instant coffee, like real coffee. So I
Mm-hmm.
started doing something like that. The other thing is I would read 2 pages a day. I like to read before I go to bed, but could be on your lunch break, could be in the evening, could be at night. Read 2 pages a day of some sort of military book. A lot of the Navy SEALs have written books. They tend to write a lot of great books. Way of the SEALs, great. Extreme Ownership, The Red Circle, No Easy Day, Lone Survivor, Service. I mean, there's so many Navy SEAL books out there.
Yeah.
You could read them all. So that's, I don't know, 4 things right there. And
I've got two. I got two. One I heard in a speech from a Marine commander, I think, is make your bed.
Yes, every day. Like if I took this upstairs, I'll show you that my bed is made. And I tell my kids that too. Today they didn't do it, but I am always on them. And I did tell it to them. I say, make your bed, make your bed. So after I get, or before I even get the kids to school, after my wife leaves for work, I make our bed. And it's like, that's a small victory right there.
The act
You're
of
like,
accomplishing something.
yeah. You're like, my room looks awesome now. My bed is made. So today, neither of my kids made their bed. I don't like that. And I'm pretty tough on my kids because I've learned that, if you're not like teaching your kids to be strong, they will be weak. They will be, lazy, crybaby, excuse makers. They're just not, it's not going to help them down the road.
Yeah, I've got a godson, and so one of my best pals read a book on parenting, and it was by a guy. I can't remember what the book was, but he said trip your son every day, like literally trip him. And so like people hear that, they're like, that's the meanest thing you could possibly do. But so we get in, like he'll punch and we'll fight and whatever, and we'll push him down and we'll like give him a smack on the face or whatever. But so getting up and fighting, it's kind of a cool thing.
Dude, get your son a pair of boxing gloves. Get your godson a pair of boxing gloves.
Yeah, I bought him a bag.
Those little things. My son comes with me to the gym a lot of the days because my daughter goes to tennis most days. So he comes to the gym, and when it's quieter, he'll push the sled. He'll hand walk across the squat, the pull-up bars on the squat rigs. He will take the mini barbell and curl it and squat it. He's 7 years old. I never say do this, do that. It started but like this. I said, Ethan, at 4:00, do the warm-up with us. That's it. And he sees it. He started like falling in love and really loving like this whole like hard work thing. So we said read every day. And I say, do anything that's a little bit uncomfortable. I train very frequently. We do frequent workouts. So in my backyard, I have a 53-pound kettlebell. I've had that kettlebell, man, I must have had it for easily over a decade now. It's almost 2016. It's probably like 12 years old. I've had that kettlebell for over 10 years, and I'll just go out back and I'll do swings and rows and clean and press and squats. Or when I take my dog for a bike ride, I'll do it in shorts and a t-shirt because I'm cold. And I'm like, you put that jacket on, now you're comfortable, you're like everybody else. Be cold for 5 minutes, you're not gonna die.
Cold showers are another thing that they can do.
Cold showers, these little things, they basically they all add up and they begin molding you into a stronger, tougher man. And then you begin applying those things to all areas of your life. Little things like yesterday, I'm so busy, I've got so much shit to do, but I went and I picked up steaks and burgers and I grilled to make sure that food was ready for my family. My wife could come home and do it, but I took pride in knowing that I was going to get that done. I just do a lot of little things that help me add up because I could easily go the other way and be weak and lazy. And there's certainly times where I fall off, where I'll eat some shitty food, or I'll wake up late, or I will skip a workout when I was like, damn, I should have worked out. but then I punish myself the next day to make up for it because I'm training my mind more than anything. And maybe I'm more connected to a lot of this stuff lately because 3 years ago, Hurricane Sandy really hit this area hard. And that whole incident and the aftermath really affected me emotionally and reminded me of why I trained to be so physical. I remember leading up to it, I had a barbell in the garage and I would deadlift every day, couple reps, couple times a day, every day. 275 to 325 was always loaded on the bar, and I would go in there and deadlift, couple reps. And then when Hurricane Sandy happened, I had to keep putting the gas generator in and out of the garage, carrying it around the backyard. I remember waking up at midnight, waking up at 5 a.m. And I would say to myself, the normal guy is like, I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. But I was like, fuck yeah, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. to keep my family warm. Like I just found pride and thrived on the things that would challenge and make other men cave.
Yeah, it's cities. We're used to everything happening for us. We don't have to kill our own food. We don't have to do anything like that. It's utopia kind of thing. And then when it hits the fan, when nature acts up, and it's more powerful than any buildings we've built.
And shit is going to hit the fan. I mean, look at what's happening around us. With the terrorist attacks that just happened in Paris, then they happened in Beirut. I mean, I'm in New Jersey. 9/11 happened in our backyard. I remember seeing the cloud of smoke from the local park. I mean, the cloud of smoke covered for 3 weeks. Yeah. And we were in such shock. But I was born in Israel, and I haven't been to Israel for a while. But
I was reading that on your site, by the way. I was going to ask you about that.
Sorry. Yeah, so whenever I'm in Israel, it's like there's soldiers everywhere. You're at the mall, and there's like people dressed like you and I, but they've got their guns strapped around, a machine gun strapped around their back. You go to a wedding, and like everybody's on the dance floor, and there's guns, and everybody's in the back of their belt. Yeah. You're taking a nap during the day, and your house shakes because the fighter jets flying over the house. You hear the sound barrier breaking. You hear them breaking the sound barrier. Boom. For them, they were raised to be fighters. They're raised to be tough, to be physical.
They've earned their freedom. We've been bestowed it. We've had it bestowed upon us from people generations before.
And we're still, even after, the attacks, after the attacks of 9/11, we still got people complaining about, they're just complaining about the wrong things. It's like, man, 9/11, when things happen in your own backyard, it's amazing how they affect you differently. So when I had seen when the hurricane tornado sweep through New Orleans, don't remember how many years ago that was. You're seeing it on TV, it registers, but you're not in the thick of it. No. You don't realize how fucked up it is. I mean, here, things were flooded 1 mile from the water, and then it happened in areas of New York, all around New York, everybody near the water. You don't realize how shit is so crazy when like people are kayaking down the beach, to steal from, the multi-million-dollar homes on the beach fronts, or there's no power and you're trying to get your kids a hot meal and people are emailing you about, a fucking $20 ebook. That's when I realized, like, holy shit, like it's such a disconnect from people seeing something on TV to what you're actually experiencing, taking care of your family. And it taught me a lot about fighting to build my business and to take care of family. And it made me tougher. Mm-hmm. It made me tougher. The tough times make me a stronger, more reliable person. And, there's always like, all men have some inner demons. You're either allowing them to hold you down or you're fighting back and defeating them. And I have a lot of, those inner demons that I'm always, fighting. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think pushes me to keep being strong.
It's just choices, constant choices. Like a lot of guys will choose not to take the cold shower, not to do all those different things. And those choices lead you down a path where you're not going to be able to defend your family. You're not going to want to make the decisions that will maintain your freedom or this and that because you're You're not powerful enough to
Even
handle
on the
that.
simpler levels, like, you know, forget about like your family being attacked. Even on the simpler levels, let's say you lose your job,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not doing the uncomfortable things. You're going to be the guy that's sitting on the couch crying, "Oh, poor me." But
Yeah.
the guy that's been training hard, fighting hard, he's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to go and work for the local construction company. I'm going to be a waiter. I'm going to learn to be a bartender. I'm going to fucking stock shelves at night while my family's sleeping. He will fight to make it happen, whereas the other guy will sit on the couch, watch TV, and cry and collect unemployment, you know, till his very last day.
Cinderella Man is a good movie.
Yep, those right there are the big defining and differentiating lines between who's going to kick ass during tough times or who's going to get their ass kicked. I mean, forget about, you know, natural disasters, family getting attacked. Like, I mean, when I see it, when Hurricane Sandy hit, I remember seeing, you know, adult men laughing, smiling, drinking beer in the middle of the street. They're like, "Hell's yeah, this is awesome. I don't have to go to work. There's no power in New Jersey for 2 weeks." But I looked at it, was like, holy shit, I got to get a hot meal for my kids. My kids were babies. They were 3 and 5. I got to get, you know, heat in the house. I've got, my business has to run. I've got to provide. You know, I learned to fight. And that event, I use every event and everything to make me stronger and better now.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, it's because I wasn't always strong. I used to be very, insecure, no confidence. You know, I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of everything. I had no confidence. I had no belief in myself. And the way to get that belief is to forge it into yourself through, through obstacles and defeating the obstacles.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the links to your. I just wrote that down. I'm gonna put the links to your story up on below
Cool.
the podcast because that's pretty good how you number them and the different things in your life. I like that.
Yeah.
To wrap up, what are 3 books you recommend to read, or what are you reading right now?
Reading Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Bobbin. I'm still reading The Way of the Seal. I mean, I've read that many times. And I bounce a lot between other books. There's a book out called Relentless. That is a basketball coach. He does a lot of strength and conditioning for pro basketball players. And he basically, like, everything is the relentless pursuit of excellence. Like, he'll be training, like, one of the best NBA players.
Yeah.
Who's getting their head back in the game after they've, like, torn an ACL or torn an Achilles, or they're losing confidence, and he's the guy that has to get them back. So I'm reading that. I'm always reading books, and I also listen to a lot of podcasts. So podcasts keep me going. I'm gonna see what let me see what I've got here. My podcast.
Have you read Resilience? Have you heard of that book?
Is that a book by a Navy SEAL?
Yeah.
Or
Eric Greitens.
who wrote that book?
Eric Greitens.
I think I have it up here. I've got so many books. That book sounds familiar. Either people have told me to read it. I don't think I have it.
I'll fire you a call. I'll mail you a copy or something.
Cool.
Good
and
book.
then I saw that there's a good book out. I think it's called 100 Deadly Skills, written by a Navy SEAL. And it's about some pretty legit stuff. It's really about, like, what do you do, like, during gun attacks, all these things that, like, I used to never pay attention to, but now I'm starting to pay more attention to things. Like, I live in a real safe town, and sometimes you're like, oh, that would never happen. And then I start looking at the other, gun shootings that happen in schools. And it's like, a lot of those kids are on antidepressants, and that's every kid and that's kids in every school, every town. So I'm paying attention to those things. So some cool. I listen to the Spartan Up podcast. Gary Vaynerchuk. I love his business podcast because of the mental toughness aspect that he has. Soft Rep, which is special. It's like special ops radio. That's a really cool. They have a lot of good websites. And I bounce back and forth with a lot of podcasts that I read, books. Here's a good book. It's on my desk, called Winners Never Cheat. Even in Difficult Times. It's by John Huntsman. That's an amazing book.
I'll get
That
that.
book really, I like that book. That book fires me up. I've got a lot of books. Stephen Pressfield books I love. I've got The Lionsgate here on my desk, but I also listen to his books on audio. So I'm always, if I'm not reading the books, I'm listening to the audio books. So I'm an aggressive learner.
Yeah.
Just keep progressing.
I never thought of getting. I have Lionsgate. I never thought of listening to the audiobook.
Yeah, he actually sent that. He sent a like a newer version to me. Him and I had exchanged a couple of emails because I had seen that he wrote about that. My father fought in the 6-Day War.
Wow.
So my brother was in the Israeli army, and of course, so were my parents. So there's a lot of like, there's a lot of me, like probably why I do a lot of these things. Like I said earlier, it's like we're defeating these inner demons. And when I was in my, late teens, my whole thing was escaping. I was like, I want to just get to college. I want to get a job. I want to get out of here. Whereas now, since 9/11, knowing all the things that happened, it's like you look back and you're like, shit, I wish I would have served the country and joined the military. But mentally and emotionally, like I wasn't ready for it because I was instead of facing the fire, I was always trying to escape the fire, So, that's what all men have this. We all have our kind of like our inner demons that we're trying to beat. And that's like this constant, battle. And I'm cool with facing it every day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's very cool, man. Well, appreciate you coming on here.
Awesome.
Taking your time. That's much appreciated.
Cool, let me know when it's out and I'll share it out.
Appreciate that. And then where can guys find you? Obviously, zacheven-esh.com.
Yep, just if they Google Underground Strength Coach or Underground Strength TV, the podcast is called the Strong Life Podcast, and my book is on Amazon, The Encyclopedia of Underground Strength, which is a blend. It's an autobiography, it's training, and it's a 400-page book. It's upstairs. I don't have it here with me, but the feedback to the book has been tremendous. So my blog connects everybody to like my Instagram and all that stuff. And I do a Strong Life tip of the day on Instagram. So if they just Google my name, they'll kind of come up with everything they want to find.
Awesome, man. Well, appreciate it. I'll put links to everything there. And then I'll probably send my guys to this along with your book as well. So
great. Cool. Thanks, Chad.
Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, everybody.